It is one of the most protected commercial buildings on Earth. Here, on the -2nd floor, there are diamonds worth several $100 million. Imagine that you are going to kidnap them. 60 cameras are waiting for you around the perimeter of the building, which are monitored by the police around the clock. Entrance to the territory blocked by security. There is a security service inside the building, and, of course, cameras. The entrance to the diamond vault is blocked by a door 30 centimeters thick. There's a sophisticated alarm system inside the vault. Light sensor, motion sensor, vibration sensor, heat sensor. And even if you have gone through everything and got to the diamonds, this is just the beginning. Now, without leaving any evidence, you need to leave the building, the city, and the country unnoticed. But this is impossible even theoretically. That's only 18 years ago, a 50-year-old Italian with accomplices did it. He committed what many journalists would later call the robbery of the century. He stole diamonds worth over $100 million using a mop, a piece of styrofoam, and hairspray. In this video, I'm going to talk about the details and mysteries of the biggest diamond theft in history. How did the attackers manage to rob one of the most invulnerable vaults in the world on one of the most guarded streets, in one of the safest cities on the planet? Who were these people, and what happened to them after? It was spectacular. I'm not talking about the screensaver, but about the details of the robbery. The robbery occurred almost 20 years ago, but to this day, there are no fewer questions and riddles in this crime than there are answers. One thing is for sure: the guys stole more diamonds than anyone in history, even if the plot of the film 11 Friends of Ushan happened in real life, it would not be as cool as the story of this robbery. And we will analyze it in great detail. So, the action takes place in the small Belgian city of Antwerp. February 17, 2003, Monday. It's 7:30 in the morning. Detective Patrick Pace is going to work. At this moment, he receives a call from the local police department. The inspector reports that there has been a theft at the Antwerp Diamond Center. Detective Pace and his partner are next to the building in half an hour. Even without going inside, they understand. Something terrible has happened. Usually it's empty at this time of day, but now there are a lot of people gathered on the street next to the building. The crowd is excited, many are crying, some are hysterical. The detective and his partner go inside. At this moment, a call rings in the security company that remotely monitors the security systems in the vault. The dispatcher picks up the phone. He is asked if the security sensors in the Antwerp Diamond Center's vault have been triggered. The dispatcher replies that, according to his data, everything is in order. The security systems have not been violated, and right now the entrance to the vault is securely protected. Detective Patrick Pace calling the security firm. And at the very moment when the dispatcher informs him that everything is under control, the detective is standing in the middle of a looted vault, on the floor of which diamonds and gold bars are scattered. After carefully examining the vault, the detectives realize that they are dealing with the largest diamond robbery in history. Valuables worth more than $100 million were stolen. The kidnappers managed the impossible. The place where the diamonds were stored was considered impregnable. To understand the full scale of what happened, let's rewind the story a little bit. No, it's too slightly backwards. Stop is just right. 16th century, Antwerp. It was here that diamond dealers began polishing and processing diamonds. Initially, diamonds mined in nature do not look too attractive. Masters from Antwerp, 500 years ago, began to process stones with the help of special tools of diamond chips and olive oil, turning them into cut diamonds. This is how we know them today, symmetrical, shiny, and smooth. Since then, Antwerp, not New York, London, or Dubai, has been the diamond capital of the world. 80% of all rough diamonds pass through this small Belgian city. Gemstone classes there are absolutely commonplace. It's like doing oil while living in Surgut or making oil in Vologda. In the 90s, the first police squad in the world appeared in Antwerp, which investigated a crime related only to precious stones, the so-called Diamond Squad. Basically, detectives were engaged in ordinary smuggling. For example, the big event was the capture of a smuggler named Mr. 3000 Carats. He was detained when he was transporting a 3,000 carat diamond in his ass. If you are not very enlightened in jewelry, you will be very surprised to learn that 3,000 carats weigh more than half a kilogram. And this is about the size of a tennis ball. Lawn tennis. But back to Antwerp. In fact, all the movement related to stones is concentrated in the so-called Diamond Quarter. These are 3 small streets occupied by dreary office buildings. Here he is engaged only in selling, buying, and processing diamonds. Gemstone dealers from all over the world scurry through the streets every day. Hindus, Jews, Chinese, people from Africa. Many of them have suitcases in their hands, inside of which there are diamonds worth tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It never occurred to anyone to take one of these suitcases and run. It's just useless. The security measures in the Diamond Quarter are unprecedented. They were like that at the beginning of the 2000s. Entry to the territory of the district was restricted. There were security points there, which only a few checked cars allowed through. Otherwise, everyone walked. There are 60 cameras on 3 small streets, which were monitored by the police. If a person entered the territory of the quarter, his every movement was recorded on video. Uniformed policemen patrolled the area during working hours. It was in such a place that the Antwerp Diamond Center stood. Everyone who entered the building scanned their badge and was checked by security. That is, it is impossible to get inside unnoticed. The building, of course, is full of security cameras. Storage is the main advantage of the Diamond Center. 2 floors down underground. A huge iron door 30 centimeters thick and weighing 3 tons blocked the way to a small square room. There were a couple of hundred individual cells in the room, in which the tenants of the building stored their valuables, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You could get into this room only if you had a cell. The door to the vault was opened by the guards in 2 stages. A 4-digit code and a physical key that only the guards had access to. There were no security cameras inside the vault itself to preserve the privacy of customers. However, there were plenty of other means of protection. The motion detector and the heat detector scanned the space and perceived the slightest changes in temperature in the storage. Simply put, no one could be there unnoticed. There was also a seismic detector that primarily picked up the vibrations of the drill. If someone tries to break into the vault or any of the safes in this way, there was a light detector on the ceiling that picked up any light source at night when no one was in the building. In addition, there were special magnets next to the door, which connected only when the door was closed. The contact between them was controlled remotely by a security company. If the contact between the magnets was broken during non-working hours, the company would immediately receive a signal. Notify the police about it, and within a few minutes, the vault would be filled with police officers. In a word, it was impossible to rob this place. However, on February 17, 2003, everything changes. Dumbfounded detectives stand in the middle of an empty vault. After a thorough examination of the crime scene, the police have no leads. No one knows how the thieves got inside. No one knows how they left the building. It was the perfect crime committed by a criminal genius. The story of the robbery of the century begins a few years before that. The 2000th year. Leonardo Notarbartolo is coming to Antwerp. He's in his early 50s. He looks great, is a pleasant, sociable, slightly overweight Italian. He rents a small apartment in the center of Antwerp. Very democratic, with a small bed and a tiny kitchen. Leonardo from Turin, Italy. There he is engaged in jewelry business. Antwerp is an ideal city to find resources for his business. Our hero rents an office in the Antwerp Diamond Center, so he gets the opportunity to document in detail all the security measures in the building. He also carefully studies the people responsible for security. Short conversations, exchange of pleasantries, all this in order to find out as many details as possible. But the main bonus that Leonardo gets on Notarbartolo as a tenant is access to the -2nd floor. One of the cells in the vault belongs to him. For 2 years, he has been living between Belgium and his native Italy, where his family is located. At that time, he already has grandchildren. Returning to Italy, Leonardo Notarbartolo carefully analyzes the information, together with his accomplices. Each member of his team is a super professional in his field. One is a lock picker, another masterfully forges keys, the third disables the alarm system, and so on. Apparently, the accomplices did not just work out the robbery plan on paper. They built a real replica of the diamond vault. There, they honed each stage of the operation. And although the police have never been able to find this place, they are sure of its existence. Simply because otherwise, it would be impossible to pull off the whole operation quickly and without errors. It took the accomplices more than 2 years to prepare. The operation was scheduled for the night from Saturday to Sunday, February 15th, 2003 year. At this time, a large international tennis tournament is taking place in Antwerp. The main prize in it is a statuette in the form of a racket with a sword made of diamonds and precious metals. It's also the weekend, right after Valentine's Day. In short, there should be a lot of diamonds in the vault. So, the night of the robbery. On the clock, a little after midnight, the accomplices drive up to the Diamond Quarter in a car. They stop on the next street, not far from the police post, which blocks the entrance to the district. Since this street does not belong to the Diamond Quarter, it is not monitored by cameras. Several people with bags pass by the police department standing nearby and follow the garage of the Antwerp Diamond Center. No one leaves the police station at this moment. Unlike the main entrance, it was possible to get into the building through the garage by passing the stage of barriers, which required a personal pass of the tenant of the building. The intruders open the lock and enter inside. Instead of using the elevator, the thieves descend the stairs to the -2nd floor, enter the lobby. Now in front of them is a door weighing 3 tons. She's blocking the entrance to the vault. Criminals need to crack the door in complete darkness, as the light detector is located on the ceiling inside the vault. For this, an exact copy of the room was needed. In such conditions, the team has no right to make mistakes. There is a lock with a code on the door. It consists of 4 digits. One of the accomplices dials the right combination. Detectives still do not know exactly how Bartala and the team managed to find out the code. Most likely, a few days before the robbery, when Leonard visited the vault again, he had a hidden camera with him, on which he recorded the actions of the guard. Now there is another lock that opens with a physical key. During numerous visits to the vault, Leonardo Bartalo noted that before opening the door, the guard always went into the utility room next to the vault. It is there that the thieves discover the necessary key and unlock the door. Of course, it was luck, but in case there was no key in the team, there was a man who masterfully opened locks. The last stage of protection is 2 magnets. When the door is opened, they disconnect and an alarm is triggered. Therefore, the accomplices simply unscrew both magnets together without disturbing the magnetic field between them. The thieves push the magnets aside, open the door, and enter the vault. At this moment, they hear the most pleasant sound in the world: silence. None of the alarm sensors are triggered. First of all, the tallest member of the team seals the light sensor on the ceiling with duct tape. Only now accomplices can turn on the lights. Before that, absolutely everything happened in pitch darkness. Wait, what about the other sensors? Why didn't they work? This is exactly the question that has arisen among the most attentive of you. And then the principle of everything ingenious worked, just for a couple of days. This robbery of Leonardo on Bartel, during one of his visits to the vault, brought hairspray with him. When he was left there alone, he covered the heat and motion sensor with varnish. This should have blocked their work for a while. The idea worked. The catch was that the accomplices did not know how long the hairspray would last. The sensors can start working at any second. Therefore, thieves take out a pre-prepared mop, attach a piece of foam to it, and install the structure opposite the heat and motion sensors. Now they definitely won't work. The rest is a matter of technique. Thieves break into safes, take out the contents, and put them in a bag. After a few hours, having emptied more than half of the safes, they finish the operation. Why did the thieves limit themselves to only half? It just didn't fit anymore. Don't forget that they came here on foot and have to leave in the same way. The thieves even left some of their tools at the crime scene. When you have a choice to take an extra piece of gold with you or take a scrap, no one will choose a scrap chest. Having collected the bags, the accomplices are ready to leave. But before that, one more problem needs to be solved. You remember about the security cameras working around the clock inside the Diamond Center. During the preparation for Tarbart, I found out that no one is watching them online 24 hours a day. At the weekend, the cameras simply recorded the image, and the guards watched the recordings on Monday. All the accomplices have to do is take the records. Having done this, the thieves leave the building in the same way as they came. At this point, the group splits up, some of them get into the car, the rest disperse. They agree to meet in Italy in a few days. On February 17, 2003 years later, a little more than a day after the robbery, the detectives realize that they have reached a dead end. No leads, traces, or witnesses. Obviously, there was one thing: only criminal geniuses could pull off such an operation. The people who robbed the Antwerp Diamond Center were members of the so-called Turin School, organizations that included very experienced thieves. They mainly specialized in stealing jewelry. This organization was something like a fight club. The main rule of the Turin School was not to tell anyone about the Turin School. Thieves from this organization used extremely sophisticated methods of theft using knowledge of engineering, physics, and other sciences. They carefully calculated and thought through all their operations. At the very moment when the detectives realize that it will be almost impossible to solve the crime, they receive an unexpected call from the police station in a small village 50 kilometers from Antwerp. That call changed everything. Retired August van Kemp lived near Antwerp. He owned a small piece of forest, which was located next to a busy highway. He walked there every day. The local police often received calls from Mr. van Kemp, complaining about garbage that was apparently thrown out of cars passing along the highway. On this day, the 17th of February, Mr. van Kemp also discovers someone's garbage in the forest. He immediately calls the police. Accustomed to such calls, the police listen condescendingly to the old man. However, at the moment when he mentions that there is money and precious stones among the garbage, the police go to the place. The thieves assumed that the place where they threw the garbage was absolutely safe. A remote forest near the highway. Who will find it here? But it was this small piece of forest, the only one for many kilometers in one direction and in the other, that was privately owned, and belonged to the same Mr. van Kemp, despite all the detailed study of operations and the detailed approach that the Turin School was famous for. Instead of destroying the garbage, they simply threw it away. The police spend the next few days examining this garbage. In addition to documents from the Antwerp Diamond Center and currencies of different countries, they find small green stones and food leftovers with traces of DNA of unidentified persons. There was also an interesting document among the garbage. It had the details of one of the companies that rented an office in the center of diamonds. The head of this company was Leonardo na Tarbartala. The policeman discovers that the storage cell belonging to Leonardo on Tarbartova was not hacked during the robbery. How could his company's document end up in the kidnapper's trash? Among the discarded items, the police also find boxes from cassettes, in which, presumably, there could be recordings from CCTV cameras. But the boxes themselves were empty. Detectives reasonably assumed that the records could be thrown out somewhere nearby. After combing through almost 30 kilometers of forest, the police find several cassettes. More than a dozen detectives gather in the room. They insert the tape into the player and look at the screen with impatience. Now they must see the faces of the kidnappers. After a few moments, porn starts on the screen. It turned out that the tapes found elsewhere in the forest were not the missing recordings from the boxes. It was ordinary porn, thrown out by other people. Nevertheless, a lead with documents in the name of Leonardo on Tarbartala gave its results. The police search his empty office and then come to the apartment. There, among other things, they find small green stones on the carpet. As a result, thanks to the evidence found in the garbage, the police managed to restrain 4 people involved in the crime, including Leonardo himself on Tarbartala. During the interrogations, none of the detainees said a word. According to the court decision, Leonardo na Tarbartala was sentenced to 10 years in prison. His accomplices received less. Leonardo was released early in 2009, 6 years after the robbery. At the same time, he gave the only interview in which he told a little about his biography. Leonardo na Tarbartala committed his first theft at the age of 6. Mom gave him money and sent him for milk. As a result, little Leonardo brought not only milk, but also even more money. It turned out that at the time of his visit, the milkman fell asleep, and the boy, taking advantage of the situation, robbed him. Despite the punishment from his parents, Leonardo continued his criminal career. In elementary school, he stole money from teachers' bags. In his teens, he switched to car theft. By the age of 30, Leonardo began to assemble a team of unique professionals on Tar Bartolo, each of whom perfectly mastered individual skills, from opening locks to breaking alarm systems. The robbery of the Diamond Center in Antwerp became their work of art. Detective Patrick Pace still asks himself, why did these smart and talented people devote their entire lives to robbery? After all, each of them could have made an incredibly successful career doing something cool for society. And this is not the only question that remains unanswered almost 20 years after the robbery. It is unclear who was the customer and financed the operation. A couple of years of preparation, building a copy of the vault, paying for the work of accomplices, all this cost a lot of money. According to unconfirmed information, Leonardo's brother Tar Bartolo was an important member of the Sicilian mafia. It was he who initiated the entire operation, paid the expenses, and eventually received most of the profits. Although this is just a hypothesis, it is also not clear where the other participants of the robbery are. DNA of other people was found on the evidence. Detectives believe that about 10 people participated in the operation. Only 4 were caught, and the main question that torments everyone is, where is the loot? According to rough estimates, the thieves stole diamonds and other valuables worth more than $100 million, by the way. No one knows the exact amount. Many of those who lost their diamonds never reported to the police. The fact is that most of the transactions with precious stones still take place in the shadows. This is how the world of diamonds works. It is impossible to track the path of specific stones and identify them. Most likely, the stolen stones were sold either by the participants of the robbery themselves or by its customers. Ironically, the stolen diamonds could return to Antwerp again and get to the market. So if any of you have diamond jewelry, there is a possibility that these stones were stolen in Antwerp on February 15, 2003. Thank you for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, and see you in the next video.